Ever pinch pennies all year for that one family vacation only to feel the budget blues afterwards? If so, I was just like you. After 3 vacationless years, I stumbled on credit card rewards travel and cracked the code to amazing vacations that I could actually afford.
Welcome to Wonderland on Points. In this podcast, you will discover how opening credit cards strategically can save you thousands on travel. We're not just dreamers anymore. We're 2 adventurous moms turning dreams into reality. Join us as we spill all the points and miles secrets.
And contrary to popular belief, you don't have to spend $1 million to earn 1,000,000 points. Traveling on credit card points isn't reserved for those with overflowing bank accounts. It's for everyday people like you and me, learning to turn routine expenses into free travel.
Consider us your points travel guides. This is Wonderland on Points. Let the adventure begin. Happy springtime, everybody. Welcome back to Wonderland on Points. It is April now. It's been April, but I am really soaking it in now because the temperatures are warming up. It's really starting to feel like spring, and we are so happy that you are here with us. We are joined by someone really special today, and I can't wait to introduce her. But first, my name is Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo, and thank you guys for joining us again. If you have not been longtime listeners of the show, then you probably haven't heard Raimee's episode, who is here with us today, but you have probably heard her mentioned since she gets shouted out on our podcast a lot when we ask people if there's a travel creator that they recommend our audience follows. Raimee comes up a lot, and then we can always say, yes, we know she's a friend of the pod. We love her. Actually, it's so special to me that she is here right now. Mary Ellen and I were chatting about this off air before she got here. First of all, her episode came out almost exactly a year ago. It came out March 18th of last year. And after that, she gave me a ticket to WITS. And because I went to WITS, I met Ashley. I met a ton of the people that we've had on the show. Because we met Ashley, we ended up at Travel More. And then you guys have probably seen the announcement on our social media, but this year we're speaking at Travel More together, Mary Ellen and I. So this whole thing got set in motion because we had Raimee on the show, and she's just been such a supporter and a cheerleader of the show. Her day job is in podcasting, so, I may have one too many times blown her up with questions, but she's back to talk Ireland. Raimee, we're so excited to have you.
Yes, I'm so excited to be back. I love chatting with both of you, and I'm so excited to just see the difference in this show and where it's gone in the last year. I can't believe that was like a year ago. That's so crazy that I was on that.
Fastest year of my life.
Yeah. Wow. You guys are crushing it. I'm so excited to just see all the continued success. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Well, you are a large part of that. So we are really grateful, really excited. And this is a really particularly fun place to highlight because we haven't done an Ireland episode yet. And people love Ireland. So why don't you, for anyone who hasn't heard last year's episode, go ahead and give us your bio and your background and then how you got into teaching points and miles online as well.
Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm Raimee. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and now YouTube as Raimee Travel. And I've been sharing smart travel tips, which include a lot of points and miles tips for the past 3 years now. Actually, this will be like my 3-year anniversary of doing my own content channels in April this month, actually. Prior to that, I worked for Nomadic Matt, really big travel blogger, really big points and miles educator as well. And I've been in the travel industry for a long time now overall, and it's been very cool to have my own platforms and meeting all you guys and teaching people stuff and helping everyone travel smarter and more for less money is always my goal. So this is the perfect show for me to be on. And we talked Japan last time, which is one of my favorite places. And now we're going to talk Ireland, which is another one of my favorite places. And it's a very special place to me. So very excited.
Yay.
Awesome.
We're so happy.
Well, as we're getting into Ireland, I think we should start because it is very relevant to if you want to visit Ireland or Northern Ireland. You were actually, and this is maybe one of the coolest things ever, you were invited correct me if I'm wrong, to Washington, D.C. to learn about all of this, like straight from the sources, like from the government. They were like, Raimee Travels we are bringing her here because you are so great at getting the word out to people and informing people about travel. And they talk to you about something called ETIAS, which is kind of an entry requirement for visiting anywhere in the European Union. So tell us a little bit about that, about it was supposed to start this year, but now it's not. Give us the update on all that situation.
Yes. So I think there were a couple news articles last year that in 2025 people will need a visa to enter Europe if you're from the States. And, a lot of people were like, "What? A visa? How much is this going to cost? What's the process?" But it's not actually a visa. It's just like a quick entry form that you will fill out prior to your flight, and it'll cost $7. It was supposed to go into effect this May, originally was the plan. So if you were traveling, yes, anywhere in the EU from America, you would need to fill out this form. It would be quick and easy to get, but they've now pushed it back and it won't be starting until the last quarter of 2026. So if you're going anywhere in Europe, don't worry about it unless, and you mentioned Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom. If you're going anywhere in the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or England, there is a entry requirement now. It started on January 8th. It's called the UK ETA. And it's very similar to what the ETIAS will be. You just make sure to go to the official UK government website. I think it's gov.uk, or the app to get this UK ETA. It'll cost $13. There's a lot of scammy websites trying to get people to pay like $100 for this. Don't fall for that. But yeah, that is a requirement. So if you are heading to Northern Ireland as a part of your Ireland journey, make sure to get the UK ETA. And you do need it if you're going by air, by train, by car. If you're crossing the border into the UK, you need the UK ETA.
I have
That
to laugh
is
about the ETIAS because it almost makes me think of the real ID. How we've
I
been
know they
seeing
keep
signs
pushing
at
it back.
airports.
yeah, I just got it. I've been pushing back on it for years, and luckily every time I pushed it out, they changed it, and they seem to be sticking to this one. So
We'll see.
we will see. But this is pretty important for a lot of us that capitalized on these Virgin Atlantic transfer bonuses. I know so many people going to the UK this summer. I am, Mary Ellen is.
Cool.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of us that are going to need the UK's version of this. But we were fascinated to find out in our research prior to this episode the difference between Ireland and Northern Ireland. I have to be honest, I've never heard this before. It makes me feel like I missed a section in history class but maybe they didn't teach me. Maybe it wasn't that I wasn't paying attention. But there is actually a difference. Part of Ireland withdrew from the UK and did not want to be under British domination. So they are two different places, and I don't think a lot of people know that, but that's why they have different requirements for entry depending on where you're going. So
Yes.
fascinating. Well, maybe start by telling us which part of Ireland you visited, and maybe you did all of it because you did a road trip, right? And you can just drive through there. Is there a border like going from Mexico to the United States or United States to Canada?
It is similar if you were to drive, yes, from, let's say Dublin up to Belfast, which
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest city in Northern Ireland. Yes, so similar type of border crossing situation. And I didn't actually visit Northern Ireland on my most recent trip to Ireland, but my very first trip to Ireland, which was actually over 10 years ago, I did go to Northern Ireland on that trip. And it was interesting to see the differences back then. And I wonder what it's like now. But yeah, very, very cool places wherever you go in Ireland. The trip that I most recently did, I spent a lot of time on the west coast of the Republic of Ireland and drove from the north all the way down to the south of the island and then back up to Dublin. And it was amazing.
It looked incredible. I saw all your stories as it was happening, but I just went back through them. And again, like full body chills. First of all, so many
Beautiful.
iconic filming locations for
Yes.
so many things. But then also, just you don't realize the variation in the terrain, the mountains and the green and the beaches. And it's just, oh, I want to go so bad. And I guess this is a time that I should let everybody know that I'm no longer going to Ireland like I was originally planning. We've turned our London/Ireland trip into just a England road trip to take
Cool.
out the stress of only having like a couple tiny days in each place. We decided to stretch out England and do Ireland as a separate trip. So I'm excited to have this episode with you because this is going to help me conceptualize when I do actually go and can actually put the time in that this country deserves.
Yes, I love that. And it's such a relief to be able to just say, you know what, let's just focus on one place and do that right. There's going to be time for the other one too. So I
Yes.
think
That's
you'll
right.
make the right choice and you'll be back.
First, let's get into how you got to Ireland. So you flew into Dublin. Did you use points and miles for your flight? And what airline did you fly?
Okay, so my most recent trip, I did not use points, but I actually just booked a new flight to Dublin for June because my friend and I are going to Scotland and we're doing a whole thing. So while my most recent trip there, I did not use points because I was with the Ireland Tourism Board. I flew Aer Lingus that time, and the flight that I just booked is also going to be on Aer Lingus because they actually have really great points and miles deals even from the West Coast. And I'm based in Los Angeles, and there's not a lot of options over to Europe, surprisingly. Like we have a couple direct flights, but there's one direct flight a day with Aer Lingus from LAX to Dublin, and I got a economy ticket for 35,000 points. So I'm going to look into doing an upgrade though. I've seen deals from Los Angeles to Dublin for as little as 55,000 points with Aer Lingus. So that would be an incredible deal. I've seen from the East Coast, you can do business class on Aer Lingus, which is a newly updated business class for them. So it's a really good redemption, as low as 45,000 points from the East Coast for business class. So, New York, Boston, there's a lot of flights from. And yeah, I love Aer Lingus as well. One thing I will say is check which plane you're on because one of the planes I was on was an older Airbus. And then my route back was on their newer Airbus, and it was
World of
obviously
difference.
better, more spacious. So you can check the plane make, and you'll want to be on the Airbus A330, I believe, is the newer
Okay.
one.
I want to remind people, and I mentioned this when I first booked it. Obviously, I've canceled it now, but there is a direct route on Aer Lingus from Dublin to Nashville that I had booked for 22,000 points in economy. That was
Amazing.
a recently added route, and for anybody that's kind of in my Midwest area, that's an awesome flight. I didn't even look for the way there because we knew we were going to London first and then over to Dublin, but there are some really sweet points and miles deals in and out of Ireland. You just got to look for them.
Yeah, yeah. And my favorite, I don't know where you guys get I think you use points.yeah for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
searching.
Mm-hmm.
I get alerted from Thrifty Traveler a lot, my newsletter subscription that sends points and miles deals. That is how I found the 35,000 econ to Ireland. And then I also was checking back, and a couple months ago, they had sent one for 55,000 for business class, and I missed it. But
Darn
that's
it.
always, I got to be watching that like a hawk to see, and then I'll just like cancel and then rebook the business class.
There's always a lot of really great last minute opportunities. So if
Yep,
you have booked a ticket that is refundable, you can get your points back and then maybe snag a last minute business class flight. That can sometimes, if you have that flexibility and that ability to live on
totally.
the edge a little bit, you might
That's
Mm-hmm.
what I
find
do.
something great.
That's right. And you know what? I just looked at my Thrifty Traveler email. They had sent me one from LAX, San Francisco, and Seattle for business class with Aer Lingus for 40,000 points. Super, super low from the West Coast, and same with East Coast. So I got to be
I
on the
was going
lookout
to
again.
say that because I think that's what I saw in your stories, your highlights that I just went
Yeah.
back through. I think you had posted that at the end. So I was going to
Yep.
ask that if you had seen that lower. When I refunded my Aer Lingus tickets, I just want to let everybody know it cost me $55 a person for the
Mm,
refund. I got all of my points back, and then I got taxes and fees minus $55 for each person. For me, it was really, really worth it because I think the taxes and fees were
yeah,
something in the ballpark of like 120 a person, which was still 100% worth it to pay the 55 and get, something back versus calling it a total loss. So a lot of, and not everything is Southwest, or United, or these cancellations that we can do and get every single penny back and every single point back. You don't find the same thing with international carriers. Most of the time there is a fee. So
yep,
definitely keep that in mind. But
yep,
still,
true.
if you're, paying $55 essentially to get a 45,000 or a 40,000 business class flight seat, worth it.
Girl math, girl math. Yeah,
Girl
don't ask me
math.
about that because for me, I'm like, oh, I get to be comfortable for $100 extra booked. Like
Yeah.
I'm not the most I don't know. I don't pinch as much if it's a good business class deal. And always getting over to Europe, like sometimes those taxes and fees are higher. I'm curious for your London flight, how much were those taxes and fees with that awesome Virgin transfer bonus? Were they high?
168 a person, and it was a premium
Not bad.
economy seat, so I didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
not
seen
bad.
some that were like 300 plus a person,
Yeah.
which that starts
Yeah.
getting you in the territory of like, what's the cash rate on this flight?
Exactly. I know. Anything under 100, I'm like, cool. But yeah, after that, I'm like, what's going on here? And then I'll do the math.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got to fly direct from LAX to Dublin, and then you rented a car. So, what does the car rental situation look like there? And did you need an international driver's license? You travel so much, maybe that's something you already have, but should people expect to get one of those?
Okay, so I love this. I was just talking about this the other day with this amazing company that I want to tell you guys about. This is literally not sponsored, but I just think they're great. So I've rented a car in over 20 countries at this point. I love road trips. I love being able to drive around. So I've done this all over the world. In Ireland, you do not need an international driver's license. And I wasn't asked for one. There are certain countries in Europe, like Italy and Spain, that are a lot more strict about having the international driver's license. So make sure you look up the country specific. I've actually never gotten one. I've never been asked for one, but they're only like $40. If you want to be safe rather than sorry, definitely get one. The whole car rental process was super easy. I rented with Sixt. I just picked up the car at the airport. And one thing that I did, and I like to tell people, is if you have a travel rewards card, chances are it's going to cover that car rental insurance. Make sure, look up what countries they cover. I believe I purchased this car rental with my Chase Sapphire card, which did cover Ireland, so I could deny the extra cost at the car rental place because that was already going to be covered by my card. So make sure you look into it, whatever card you have and the country, because certain ones aren't covered. But that was great. That was super easy. It was very affordable, especially because I could deny the coverage from Sixt. So that was really cool. And then I also wanted to mention the fact that in Ireland, you're driving on the opposite side of the road.
Yep.
And
Talk to me about that.
this is where I'm going to recommend this company that I just met yesterday. I was at the travel goods show in Las Vegas, and there was a couple of different travel brands there. And I went up to this guy's booth, and he started a company called Tripiamo, Tripiamo. I'll send you guys the link so you can link this. And the whole idea of this company is helping people become more comfortable driving abroad. You can do simulations of actual routes in different countries. Ireland is one of the places that they cover. So you can kind of mock drive, make sure you know what all of the different signage is because stop signs look different, all this stuff. And I was like, this is genius. I wish I had known about this. I'm a crazy person. I love to drive, so like I probably wouldn't use it, but I know for so many people, having that confidence to be able to see here's exactly how I'm going to turn. You definitely need to do this for
Yes.
the UK.
Yes, because
So
I'm going to
yeah,
be my mom. My mom's like, "You're driving, right?" And I was like,
yeah, yeah,
yes, and I drive a ton for my job, and I like driving here, but
yeah.
I also know that, like, I can't even when I was taking dance classes, jazz and hip hop as an adult, and they told me to stand in a different spot than my normal spot, I couldn't even do choreography. How does it work? Do you need a virtual reality headset, or is it just
It's all on your
Just on
computer
your screen.
screen, and they kind of do simulations. They also just walk you through like all the traffic rules to know what the signage is, all this stuff. So I'll definitely send you
Genius.
guys the link. But yeah, so smart. I was so excited to make this recommendation to people because I've gotten so many questions like, what about driving on the other side of the road? Or even countries where it's not opposite to America, the signs are different. So I think
Right.
Mhm.
having the confidence going in like, oh cool, I've got this down. Yeah, very
Y'all
cool
know what a
company. So
psycho I am?
I'm so
This
excited.
is what I am immediately thinking of when you're describing this. I am a weirdo. My husband and I, we always laugh. We watch The Amazing Race. We always talk about The Amazing Race. Like our life is like
yeah,
strategizing for what we would do if we were on one of these reality shows for The Amazing Race. And this tool sounds like the perfect training game for anyone who might go on that show to
totally.
ahead of time
Get the
practice your
route.
international signage and driving,
Yep.
see actual routes. I'm adding this to our game plan. This is going to be part of
I
our
love
training
that.
for the very fictional time that we get chosen to go on The Amazing
You
Race.
know what? And honestly, he should partner with The Amazing Race. And well, maybe that gives an unfair advantage. I don't know. But this guy was cool. He just started the company a year ago. He used to work
Wow.
at some big travel company and is doing this now. And I was like, so
Awesome.
cool. So
It's
yeah,
so genius. That is the only piece of my England trip that has been causing me stress since we made this switch.
perfect.
The only piece. And
Perfect.
I am really, you were a big inspiration for why we decided to turn it into the road trip. Because I told my
Yay.
mom, I was like, when I was watching her and the way that you can just like pull off and see this, and you don't have to be train times and plane times and all this regimented
Yeah.
scheduling between you and the mobile homie who we just had on talking about
Love.
their 50 states road trip. I was like,
Yes.
okay, we got to make it a road trip, but also I'm afraid of driving on the wrong side of the road on the wrong side of the car. I am
Yeah.
afraid. This is going to
You'll
be
be you'll be great.
such a game changer. I'm so excited. Did you
Yeah.
do the driving?
I did half of it. My husband, he was my fiance at the time. We split it up, but yeah, we both did. And we recently did the same thing in New Zealand because they're also on the opposite side of the road. And
Okay.
driving through crazy valleys off the side of the cliffs, just on the other side of the road. I loved it. It was fun.
How long did you feel like it took you to get adjusted when you started that?
Honestly, like, I mean, not right away, but you will be surprised because you're so focused on like stay left, stay left, stay left. Like the weirdest thing is any roundabouts.
Mm.
Roundabouts took me a little bit to get used to, and I was like, ah, like every time. But everything else, you'll be good, especially because those country roads, like no one else is on them. City driving is a little intimidating, but you'll get the hang of it. I would say after the first day, you'll be like, okay, my brain is aware of this now. And it
Okay.
almost feels weird going home, being like, okay, wait, back to the way it was.
Yes. I'm so excited. I feel so much more confident already, and I'm very excited to dig into this tool for sure. Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
tell us where you started and what your route was like. So you flew into Dublin, you rented a car. Did you stay in Dublin for any time, or you left
Yeah.
immediately?
I stayed in Dublin for a total of 2 or 3 nights. And I did actually use points for one of those nights. I stayed at the Conrad property there, and I think it was like 15,000 points for the night. And I was like, that's a pretty good deal for
Wow.
a Conrad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was there in April of last year, actually. So almost coming up on a year of that last trip. And that time of year is not as popular. It's still shoulder season, so I was able to get a really good deal on the room there, and it was a great hotel, super central location. And then from Dublin, drove 2 hours to a town called Sligo, which is on the west coast, really only a 2-hour drive away, which I think is very close to get to the other side of the country and kind of start my journey down the rest of the island from there. And Sligo is beautiful. It's this really small town. There's gorgeous cliffs, like little
Mm.
castles. It was so magical. I'd never even heard of this area of Ireland before. I didn't know that the whole Wild Atlantic Way, which is the route that I drove, I hadn't heard of that before this trip. And yeah, it's a great road trip destination. There's stops all along this route called the Wild Atlantic Way, and I didn't get to do all of it, but if you want to do an Ireland road trip, definitely search up Wild Atlantic Way routes, and there's a couple different ones you can do.
Yeah, give us some of your must-see stops. So you weren't able to stop at everything because,
Yeah.
you didn't move there. But
Yep.
for the time that you were there, what stood out? What were the things that you were like, okay, absolutely, if I were to do this again, you cannot miss this stop?
Yes. Okay. So there also was a town a little bit north of Sligo called Donegal, which was beautiful as well. Some of the most dramatic cliffs in all of Ireland are there. And I would argue that they're even more beautiful than the Cliffs of Moher, which are the very famous ones and definitely are worth seeing. But if you have a chance to go and start up in Donegal, then go down to Sligo. And then make your way down from there to County Mayo, which is just a region just south of Sligo. And there's, again, a ton of castles there, beautiful beaches as well. I know we touched on the beaches, which I also didn't really know Ireland had. You hear a lot about the weather in Ireland. It's always rainy, it's always cloudy. I must have gotten really lucky because it did not rain the entire week that I was there in April. Like, it was beautiful sunny weather the whole time. And I was like, do people know about this? You can go on white sand beach. No one else is here. Super beautiful. And there's this one beach in particular called Silver Strand. It's in
Ooh.
County Mayo, and it is worth the weird drive to get there. One of the most beautiful beaches I've ever been to, and no one was there. So those are some of the highlights. I also drove all the way down to the Ring of Kerry, which is a
Mm.
popular kind of route. And that was really, really cool. Lots of cute towns, Killarney. There's also Cork, which is a really awesome town. So those were the highlights off the top of my head.
Oh my goodness. That all sounds amazing. Some of those names I recognize and realize I've been pronouncing incorrectly.
Yeah, the only reason I know the proper pronunciation now is because I got destroyed in TikTok comments because I was saying like Donegal
That's
and
what I,
County
yep.
Mayo. Yeah, it was just so I think I'm saying them right now, but don't hold me to it.
The internet will always come for you. Isn't it nice?
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the places to stay because I did do a quick research of, I always like to go to the Hyatt app and search a country and get a map view. There's not a lot of Hyatts in Ireland, guys. There is a really nice Hyatt Centric in Dublin, but again, occupancy rules. If you're traveling with 3 people, like I was trying to, it's a little bit harder to
Mm,
do. We did find when I had it booked before I canceled it, I got a room at the Hilton City Center, the Garden Inn, and that was, I think, 60,000 points a night. But again, transferring 30,000 from Amex, as we mention all the time, is not terrible. It's not great, but it's not a Hyatt redemption. So what can you
yeah.
do? But in general, Ireland seems to me to be an Airbnb place, a place
Yes.
where there's so many gorgeous, incredible, unique Airbnbs. And the way I decide if I'm going to do an Airbnb and erase it with a Capital One, like purchase eraser, is I'm like, 25,000 feels like the amount of points I want to spend per night. So if an Airbnb is 250 a night or less, I'm like down to erase that with my points.
Yep.
And I found a gazillion stays all across Ireland for under 1250 for 5 nights.
Yep.
All over.
That's what I did. I did mostly Airbnbs and like little guest houses. And for the two of us, I was there. We could split it between us both. We were staying at these gorgeous like farm stays for less than like 120 a night total. So like we were each spending anywhere from like 40 to 60 per night for like very nice places. Like we could
So
have done
good.
it even cheaper, but I was like, well, no, I want to stay at this sheep farm. And it's only $100. Like, let's do that. So I think you're completely right. Airbnb is the way to go. There's so many great options there.
I started a wish list today. It's already out of control. It's got a lot of little farms and cottages and stuff on it.
You should link that in the show description. So if anyone planning can see some of your wish list
You can
places.
share your wish list? I've
Yeah.
never done that.
Yeah. I also have like a link of some stay recommendations around Ireland too. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, give us that. We'll put that in the show notes. And do you also have a Google map? Do you sell that?
yep. I have a Google Map. The Google Map is free. And then I have like I think I have a 7 or a 10-day itinerary with like more in-depth details, and that it's like $2. So I'll send you guys
Yeah.
the links for that
We'll link
also.
all of that stuff. We're going to make this super easy for our
Amazing.
listeners to just copy you, because that
Love
is the
it.
kind of trip we love, where someone else does
Yes.
all the thinking and research for us.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
What about when I think of a road trip in the US, I think of things like Buc-ee's. You may not know what that is since you're
Oh, I
in
do.
LA.
Wally's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a gas
massive.
station, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's more
Yes.
than a gas station. Gas station, retail,
Yeah.
food, a metropolis of Americanness. I
Mhm.
feel like when we think of road trips in America, we think of fast food signs and billboards, and that's not at all how I picture Ireland. I
True.
imagine that's not how it is. So,
No.
talk to us about, as you're traveling around, the food situation. What kind of restaurants and food spots did you find to enjoy?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. And it is so different. And one thing you really do have to be aware of is like, where's the nearest gas station? Like, where do I need to fill up? Because some of these roads are definitely country roads. Like, some of them are dirt roads, and not all of them, but there were some areas that I was like, where's the next town? So really you'll have to be aware of, yes, where's the closest gas station, which, Google Maps has that. And also, there's a ton of just like little farm type of towns when you're more out in the country. And that's where you'll get like these cute little local cafes and coffee shops. That is much more the vibe of what you'll find. And then at the gas stations, though, while it's not like a Buc-ee's experience, I was surprised some of them did have like hot food options, which were actually really tasty. Lots of really good snacks. I love doing a international snack haul and just like
Yes.
seeing what the different types of snacks are. So you will find that, like, it's definitely still very much a thing, but yeah, just get ready for little towns, cute cafes, and making sure you have enough gas to get to the next one.
Yeah, I didn't actually even think of that. That's a
Yeah.
very good thing to
You'll
be
be
aware of.
Yeah, you'll be totally fine. There's also, I noticed a lot of kind of like airstreams that were set up to have coffees, like little stops like that, which was really cool
Cute.
and cute, or like little cottages on the side of the road that were set up to sell like crepes or yeah, coffee. So super
Ugh,
cute and fun.
I'm the queen of wanting to like pull off and try everything interesting that I come across on a
You're
road
gonna
trip.
have
So,
so much fun. Yeah.
oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. What were the gas prices like? Obviously, things fluctuate a lot, and that was a year ago, but are they similar to US? Are they way more, way less?
So because they go by liters, girl, I don't know. I just paid for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think after the fact, when I was doing like my expenses for the trip, it definitely is a little bit pricier there. But I think I rented a hybrid car, and it wasn't crazy. I will say it was not like, whoa. And I remember I only really had to fill up maybe twice during the week that I was there, maybe 3 times.
well, that's not too many tanks. So you were there for 7 days, a full week?
I was there 10 days,
Oh,
so
10.
maybe 3 times to like, because you have to return the car filled up.
That's not bad at
Yeah.
all, though. It's going to be way cheaper than planes and trains and all of the other stuff. So,
Honestly, yes, much cheaper than trains or even buses, especially because you have a group of people, then it gets even, then you're splitting the cost, or in your mind at least, I know you're going with your mom and your daughter, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's going to be so fun.
I know. I'm really excited. And our original plan for everything, I mean, obviously, when we were doing Ireland and for England, was to just stay at a central spot that we took a train to and then do like Viator day tours, which those add up really
They
fast.
add
So,
up a lot.
really,
Mhm.
road tripping, if you can get comfortable in the driving and set aside money for gas, it's going to be
Yeah.
far more affordable, even with the price of a rental car. Did you do
Yeah.
any attraction type stuff? Like we were going to do a sheepdog trial that we were going to book through Viator.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do the sheepdog thing, but it was all booked up. So book
Oh.
things in advance, because I was trying to do that kind of last minute, and a week out, the sheepdog experience was fully booked out, even in April, which was shoulder season. So I was kind of surprised by that. Actually, I was surprised too by in the major cities, Cork and Dublin, a lot of restaurants were fully booked, and I was like,
Wow.
"What? This is shoulder season. Like I can't get a reservation." So that is something to be aware of in the bigger cities. But I will say we did do some activities, attraction things. But the nice part about Ireland is, the views are free. So like the beaches,
Yes.
they're free. Most of the castles that we went to were free to walk up to. The Cliffs of Moher, the really famous cliffs,
Mhm.
they have a area where you can kind of sneak around the main parking, and the main parking area will cost you like $25, but we went to this lot that was $5. So the cost for activities was relatively low because so much of it is nature and
Yeah.
hiking and like free, which was awesome.
So did you feel like 10 days was too much, not enough, just the right amount of time? What's the smallest
Ooh.
amount of time that you feel like you could really see and experience Ireland?
Okay, the smallest amount of time, I would say try to get at least 5 days on the ground. Accounting
Okay.
for getting there is a day, going back is kind of a day. I would say 5 days is the absolute minimum, especially if you do want to do like a little bit of the Wild Atlantic Way. Um, 10 days was great, but I still felt like there was so much of it that I didn't see. That said, I have noticed myself now around day 7, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go home because
Mm,
I'm like missing my routine and stuff. And that's just something I feel like the older I've gotten, I will notice about myself now.
Yep.
And you guys know sometimes when you're on trips where you're like, oh, cool, like another waterfall. Like I just saw 3 waterfalls yesterday. So I think the sweet spot is 7 days, but minimum 5. Then again, if you're so big into outdoorsy stuff and you want to do a lot of hikes and you want to see all of the things, 10 days.
okay. I love this. This reaffirms my choice to axe Ireland and my 3-day trip, including travel
It would have been a
from
lot. Yeah, it
the
would have been
itinerary.
too little. Yeah.
Yep, yep. But I am really, really excited to go back for a full trip. This is just so
Yes.
inspiring.
Yay.
What are the castles we shouldn't miss? There's so many. There's so many
Ooh, yes.
castles.
Okay, so I really love the Muckross house along the Ring of Kerry. It's this really beautiful estate where there's this giant, like, I guess you'd call it an estate slash castle house that you can see, beautiful gardens, a lake on the property. Like, the Muckross house is
Oh.
really cool. And that's in, yeah, County Kerry, kind of more on the southwest coast of Ireland. And then also this abbey, which you'll go to once you're making the drive down from Sligo to the Ring of Kerry, the Kylemore Abbey. I think that's how you say it. It's really famous. It's beautiful. It's in County Galway, actually. So
Mm,
you'll probably also stop in Galway. I haven't mentioned Galway because most people think of Ireland like Dublin. Galway is the other really popular town. And I like Galway, but I just think some of the other places I mentioned I love even more. But Kylemore Abbey is very beautiful and it's near Galway.
okay, I love this because I haven't heard of either of them. I feel like when you hear about castles in Ireland, you hear about the same ones over and over and over and over and over. Off the top of
Yep.
my head, I could only think of Kilkenny. Is that I don't
Yeah,
know if
I
that's how
actually
you
didn't
say
even
that.
go. Yeah, I didn't go to that one. But and there's also the famous one where you like kiss the Blarney Stone,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
that's near Cork, and I didn't do that either. But yeah, I was kind of like on this anti-tourist trail journey,
Love.
but sometimes you need that. But I did touristy things also, so no hate to
I
the
wanted to
touristy things.
ask about the touristy vibe. Was it some of these places you see on Instagram and they look amazing, and then when you get there, it is so packed with people that it's everything you can do to try to get a photo without other people in it? Was
Yeah.
Ireland that way, or did you feel like you pretty much stayed away from people and really just experienced the culture without all the crowds?
Yeah, I will. The northern part of that Wild Atlantic Way, I felt like we were the only ones there. It was so cool. We went to all these like I said, some of the most beautiful cliffs I've ever seen. Two other people there. So that was really cool. The closer we got to Cork and actually like the Ring of Kerry, it got a little bit more touristy, but nothing crazy at all. Like it was lovely, and I think part of that is that we were there in April also,
Mhm.
which is still bordering on shoulder season, but yeah, not it did not feel too touristy, which was great.
You went in April. Is that the time of year you'd recommend going in terms of weather? Obviously, you were really super blessed with just extraordinary weather, but are there times
Hmm.
that are better known for being less rainy or warmer? What are their
Yes.
seasons like? What are your
So
recommendations?
yeah, so technically their dry season now starts around the end of April and goes through July. But I've also heard fall can be a really great time to go too. I mean, there is something about Ireland in the rain and the mist and kind of that like fantasy mystical feel. So even if that's the weather you get, that's a cool vibe too. But I was surprised when I looked up like Ireland's driest months. April was one of the driest months, which I wouldn't have originally thought. But yeah, so I would say, and I love shoulder season travel too. Like, I love not being there in peak summer, but peak summer is technically when you'll get warmest weather.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I have a question that we did not even put on the questions list that I just thought of, which is like, how do you do the GPS, the maps, the cell phone thing? Did you have to buy a data plan? Did you download your maps ahead of time? Road tripping, you really need a good, solid GPS system. So, how did you do that?
Yes, and I found that so first of all, I got an eSIM. So I think for this trip, I've used a ton of different eSIMs. They all pretty much do the same thing. I just go to whichever one has the best deal. I
Mm.
think for this trip, I used Airlo so that I could have service abroad. And then you mentioned downloading the map prior. That is the key. So I downloaded the entire like country of Ireland on Google on my Google Maps before, and then I had little pins on each route, like the route that we were taking, so I could just load up, like, okay, from here to there, from there to here. And it worked perfectly fine. Yeah, we never had an instance where it didn't load or anything. So that is good news. I'm assuming it'll be the same way in England, but yeah, download the map beforehand, get an eSIM, or I think your data plan, whatever it is, will work perfectly fine over there too. Like I felt like my connection everywhere was great.
Okay, so even if you don't plan ahead and drop the pins, but you have the country map downloaded, you should theoretically be able to change your route a little or go somewhere
Yep,
extra and have it load with no problems.
exactly. Yep.
Okay, I like this. This is important.
That's a
Yes.
good travel tip in general too,
Mhm.
because we've found that in Switzerland or all over, no matter where in the world you go, there are moments that all of a sudden you may not have service, and so download
Hmm.
everything ahead of time before you're moving around, so that when that moment comes, it's okay, and you're not depending on actively having a signal at all times.
Yes, I love, and I actually need to remind myself to do that more with whenever I'm doing a road trip, I download the map, but I didn't even think about that for like I don't the last time I was in Japan, I was in more rural parts of the country and I should have done that because there were times where I didn't have service and it would have been nice to be able to look around on that pre-loaded map that I had. So, love that.
Yeah. I've also been disappointed with my phone. Unfortunately, I have AT&T. I don't know who else
Mm.
does. I am not allowed to have an eSIM, which has been super disappointing
Oh.
to me. So I still have to make sure I have my international data plan on and get charged $11 a day, which it does have a cap for the month. If you're traveling, internationally a bunch in a month, it will stop charging you at some point with a max that you get charged. But because my phone is not paid off yet, I guess, you know how you pay for them for like 3 years or whatever, ongoing payments every month, and I'm not allowed to pay it off early, which is very
Mm,
frustrating. I can't have an eSIM. So
that's so
look into
annoying.
eSIMs. They are
Mhm.
really awesome, but they don't work for everybody. Not
True.
everyone's allowed to use them. It depends on if your phone is unlocked or not.
Yeah.
So definitely something to look into.
It's true. Yeah,
Yes.
your phone has to be like fully paid off to be unlocked, and yeah, definitely check with your carrier. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, that doesn't work for the people that are constantly doing the trade-in upgrade method with the phones.
True. True.
Yeah,
Unless you
yeah,
buy it.
yeah.
I do it too. It's okay. I didn't used to, but I did once I started podcasting and taking videos all the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
you
It's
need
hard
it.
not to want the most updated phone specifically for
Camera.
people who like to take, yeah, camera, photos, and videos. How
Yes.
about let's talk about the cities. So we've talked about the countryside a fair amount. Dublin. How much time do you need in Dublin? Were there any pubs that you really enjoyed or spots that people should check out in the city? Or have you just kind of ventured out to the country and think that it's okay to kind of skip spending time in the city?
So I think that is worth at least a day or two. I've heard people critique Dublin for like, I don't know, people are like, oh, Dublin's lame. I think it's cool. It's pretty. It's like a fun European city. I do think you can see the highlights in a day or two. So I do think like Ireland really shines at the smaller towns, the beautiful scenery. That's my favorite part. But Dublin is fun. I also really liked Cork. Cork had some awesome food, and that's another misconception people have about Ireland and the UK area. Oh, well, the food isn't good. I had amazing food. There was this place in Cork called Goldie's. Best meal I had. It was super cheap too. Like,
Mm.
so don't sleep on the food. There is really great food in Ireland.
Any other restaurant recommendations by name?
Ooh, by name. I remember Goldie's so well because it felt like a five-star dining experience. And I was like, oh, what's this gonna cost? And it was like $30. Like,
Whoa.
so I just remember that one really well. And that was in Cork. And with the map that I'll send you, I have a ton like actually saved because I can't think of
Perfect.
anything off the top of my head. But there will be a ton of restaurant recommendations. Oh, wait, I just thought of one. Pig's Ear. It's called Pig's
Cute.
Ear. This is actually in Dublin. Go there for dinner and get the shepherd's pie. It was so good. You might need to make reservations. It was a little pricey, but if you want a cool, it's kind of like a more cultural type of vibe in there. And the shepherd's pie was amazing. And that's in Dublin.
Oh,
Love
I
that.
really like that. I
I'm
want to
ex-
have your map. If I ever do this, I feel like your map is the resource that I want to have because,
Yes.
especially if you have all those pins for restaurants already, that's one of my favorite travel tips. And that's like what my family lives by. We
Hmm.
research the restaurants before we go on the trip because I feel like there's so much time wasted when you're hungry and you're not sure where things are.
So
And then
true.
you get grumpy and you're hangry and you
So
don't know where
true.
you're going to eat and your family's trying to decide and you're going back and forth. I like to at least have an option already mapped out and always reserve the right to change our minds at the last minute, but at least already have options all along the way so that we know we don't get ourselves into a bind where we're starving and don't know where to eat.
Yep. No, that is why I literally made these maps to send to people because you don't always like have reservations in mind and you might be walking around and be like, oh my God, I'm starving. I want people to pull up my map and be like, oh, cool. Raimi has 3 places saved on the block away from us. Let's go to one of those.
Right.
So that is the goal with the map. You can just pull it up, see what's nearby and go there and not waste that time and getting hangry and yelling at each other.
And
Such
for
a
moms, what's the number one question that we hate hearing from our children on a daily basis?
I'm
What's for
hungry.
dinner? I'm
what's for
hungry.
Yeah.
dinner?
What's for dinner? What are you going to make
Yeah.
me?
I'm
I love no
starving.
decisions.
I
No
there's nothing
decisions.
that I hate more than hearing a kid say they're starving when they ate 2 hours ago. Oh,
I
really?
know.
I take issue with that. Okay. But this actually does bring up an important question because we have a lot of budget listeners who are trying to stretch their dollars. Do you regularly encounter like markets and grocery stores if people wanted to be packing a cooler or,
Yeah.
having food to cook in their Airbnb?
I wouldn't say you regularly encounter it, but you can definitely plan for that. And there are there's some big areas you can pull off where there's the supermarket areas. And then there are so many local bakeries and stuff too. So yes, you can definitely plan for that. And I love a good like road trip sandwich that you
Yes.
make for yourself. Like, yes, you can definitely do that.
Picnic your way through Ireland. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back now.
Yeah, me and my red braid need to take a trip there. People are always like, "You
You do.
must
You
be
would fit right
Irish."
in.
I'm actually
Are you?
Scottish. I'm Scottish,
Ah,
guys. There is I
okay.
think we think there's a little bit of Irish in there,
Yeah,
but the majority of the red I think is a Scottish trait. So,
yeah.
Okay, before we go, is there anything else that you really feel like people should check out or not miss if they're planning a trip to Ireland?
Okay, so one thing, I guess this isn't something to not miss, but this is something that will make your travel experience there a lot smoother that I don't think people realize. But Dublin and Shannon, which is the airport on the west coast of Ireland, They both have pre-clearance for US travelers, so you can go through the customs process in Dublin or in Shannon before you land back in the US. So then when you get back home, you don't have to go through customs again. You've already done it. And it's so nice to not land after that long flight, wait in the customs line. I mean, hopefully people have global entry, but if you don't have to worry about it because you've already cleared it in
That
Ireland,
is
which
a
is
nice feature.
right. So it makes the whole process a lot easier. And I was really surprised and thought that was super cool, to just land and walk on my way, not have to go through the global entry line,
Yes.
which there isn't one, but still.
That's amazing. That's a great
Yeah.
tip. Okay, well, as
Yeah.
we are wrapping up here, tell everybody where they can find you again, remind them of your social media, and then do you have a creator, just like everyone always shouts you out, that you want to shout out that our audience should follow? I believe last time you shouted out Nomadic Matt, and we still have been meaning to try to get him on the show. Maybe we'll actually
Oh, yeah.
do it now rather than just talking about it. But
You
if there's
should.
another
His
person.
new book just came out. So you can find me at Raimee Travel, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm actually going to post an Ireland vlog of my road trip very soon. I'm starting to do more long form. But yeah, so that's me. And then I would love to shout out, one is Amanda Monique Brown. She's really big, so people probably know her already, but she's a good friend of mine now. She's awesome. She posts similar content to me, like very smart travel tips, really good detailed guides. She's super fun to follow and has the cutest dog. And then let me make sure I get her handle right. Her name is Alma, and she has a Nigerian passport, which is notoriously difficult to travel with. They have to get visas for a lot of countries. And she just attempted a world record where she traveled to all 7 continents in under 70 hours, which is insane. So I
Whoa.
was following this journey. Her handle is Alma Asinobi. So it's AlmaAsinobi. And she's super cool. You can follow and see how she did all of that, but she also posts travel tips, and it's a good reminder of like our passport privilege as
Mm.
US passport holders to see what she has to go through to travel, but she still does it, and she's super inspiring, and I have loved following her.
Yay. I'm linking all of this up. This is exciting. I love hearing new names.
Awesome. Well, we have been it's been a treat for you to be here, guys. And this, if anyone doesn't realize it, was episode 99 for the Wonderland On Points
Wow.
podcast. Thank you, Raimee, for being a part of episode 99. And the next one is our 100th episode. And we hope that you will join us because we're just so thankful for all our listeners that you've gotten us to 100 episodes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, guys. Oh my gosh. 99? That's so cool. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, we're so excited. We were actually a little bummed that our 100th episode lands on one of our midweek mini episodes instead of on one of our full episodes. So we won't be having a guest for episode 100, but we will do something special. So just stay tuned and see what that is. But Raimee, we love you. We're so grateful that you came back. And everybody, thank you for listening. And we'll see you
Yeah.
here next time, guys.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this show today, please consider writing us a review or clicking 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please subscribe and follow along so that you never miss an episode.
You can follow the podcast on Instagram or YouTube at Wonderland on Points Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Family Travel for the Win with the number 4.
And you can find me on Instagram at Points to Wonderland.
If you're thinking about getting a new travel rewards credit card, consider using the links in our show notes. Using our links helps to support us and keep our podcast going so we can provide you with all the latest tips and tricks when it comes to traveling on points.
And if you aren't sure which card is right for you, shoot us an email at wonderlandonpoints@gmail.com, and we would be happy to walk you through a free card consultation. That's also a great place to send us all of your comments and questions. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you here next time.